Hey, Richie, I wanted to start this week's episode with a joke. What is an Australian witch's mode of transportation of choice?
A kangaroo.
I mean, it's a good answer, but it is a boomerang, and I'm not sorry at all. So grab your closest friends and your spell books and the extra Eye of Newt that you keep in your spice cabinet because it's time for the 1 hour One Brain Cell podcast. But welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 37, I believe, of the 1 hour One Brain Cell podcast. I am, as always, joined by my co-host, who's coming to you live from TEDx downtown Phoenix today, Richie Flores.
And I am joined by my co-host Jordan this week. A very special occasion on the show this week. I am joined by Jordan, who of course is the Max Verstappen to my Daniel Ricciardo.
Hey, 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 hey. Kiki, hey.
That's also how I find Richie if we ever get separated in a crowd. So
it's true. It's true.
I am not going to be able to keep it together with you moving around documentary style over there. So do yourselves a favor. If you don't usually watch us, please go on YouTube and watch us this week, because this is really something different and something mildly horrifying. And it just kind of looks like we're filming your life for a special.
Yeah, I feel like a stand-up comedian, kind of like
you are,
because I can just kind of like wander over here, and then because I have a window right here, and I can like tell you what's going on in the weather. Like, it's pretty nice outside today. Actually, I believe under 100 degrees. If you look outside to my right here, you can see it's a very nice day. Not very overcast, very sunny, no wind. Beautiful day here in glorious Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah, let's see. Hang on a second. Let's go this way. Does it? Oh,
well, it doesn't like you going that way.
I can't go that far that way. But yeah, it's this is actually cool. So if I can either walk around the entire show like a stand-up comedian, or I can actually sit down. So I'm gonna sit down for a little bit and enjoy the show that way. So you don't get too freaked out by me just rolling around, walking around, and the camera following me the entire time.
That's today's test, is like, can Richie sit still for an entire episode knowing that he does have camera tracking capability?
It's true, because I can, like, if I fidget here, like, it will still follow me. Like, there it goes.
It zooms in. Oh, that's a thing. All right.
This is great. I'm gonna start doing this every week now that I found this new feature. This is terrific.
That's insane. Richie's also working with a better camera this week, and 2 better Wi-Fi this week. So we're really just throwing like all hands on deck for this week's episode.
It's the first episode of fall season. That's what happens, and we bring out all the stops here. New phone, new Wi-Fi, new podcast. Who dis? You know.
That's something special. Oh boy. All right. Well, we've been teasing it for weeks now. By the time you hear this, we will have just, hopefully all things go according to plan, but we will have just finished our massive 3-day road trip to go see Julien Baker in Chicago. So that will be next week's episode, as far as content and recap and maybe video, depending on how much we take and what it looks like. But we should have more for you then. This week, where do you want to start this week? I think let's just start with the biggest thing that happened this week, arguably, which is the drop of Marvel Studios' new limited series, Agatha All Along.
Agatha All Along.
Banger. I mean, like, arguably the biggest banger from WandaVision, and yes, they would have done us dirty if they didn't give this character a spinoff. So that's exciting. And the first 2 episodes came out, so we had a good, let's say, an introduction to the characters and what this might be all about. For those of you who didn't finish WandaVision or don't remember finishing WandaVision, like my mom, she called me. I don't mean to throw her under the bus here, but she called me and she's like, I did I finish this? Because I swear I finished it, but I went back and I was watching the last episode. I was like, none of this looks familiar to me. She's like, then I went back and I tried watching the second to last episode, and most of it still didn't look familiar to me. So I'm watching the second to last one and then the last one again before starting the series. So if you didn't finish it, Richie, will you give us a little recap on what happened or what the people need to know going into the Agatha series? And this might contain spoilers, so be careful if you haven't watched it.
Yes. It picks up Agatha All Along, as we find out, picks up 3 years after the events of WandaVision and the events of Multiverse of Madness too. So I did not rewatch WandaVision prior to the show, but I feel like I didn't need to. And honestly, I don't think you need to rewatch it. You just need to be familiar with what happened to Agatha by the end of the show, and that's all you really need to know, I think. So you just need to know that Wanda trapped her or kept her in a spell inside Westview, and she's been trapped there for 3 years. That's all. That's about all we need to know.
Mm-hmm. And importantly, also, she's been stripped of her magic, which was dark magic. It did come from the Darkhold. There's an interesting thing occurring with the Darkhold across the multiverse now, because there was a version of Wanda that was quote unquote killed, and the versions of the Darkhold were quote unquote destroyed. I still don't believe that that's true. And now that we have the door open to the multiverse thing, you could pretty much do whatever you want at any time. If you're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we could just decide to go back on the canon at any given time. So we have that. So this, like Richie said, this picks up directly 3 years after. And if you were familiar with the events of WandaVision, where she sort of gave everybody in this town of Westview like a role to play, I'm not sure if that's exactly the way that I would describe it, but it was sort of like they had a personality given to them, and their memories were given to them, but they couldn't remember past a certain point, like who they were, what they did, how they got there. They just knew the role that they were supposed to play at that time. Sort of a similar thing happened to Agatha by the end of episode, probably about halfway through episode 1. She has broken out of this, re-realized herself, and teamed up with a random teenager played by Joe Locke to navigate the Witch's Road and get apparently what they're all hoping, seeking, searching for. It's like every other myth ever, that's like, if you travel down this journey and it will be difficult and it will be dangerous, but whatever you want waits for you at the end. It's a classic story.
Yeah, it's giving Wizard of Oz and the Yellow Brick Road. And,
it is. It's kind of.
And Dorothy meeting up with her, her crew during Wizard of Oz is like that's what Agatha is doing here.
I see it. I like it.
Did you not think that when you watched it? I immediately thought that when they, by the end of episode 2, I was like, oh, this is like this feels so much like Wizard of Oz.
I'll be honest with you, that's not where my brain went. That's so now that you say it, I very much see it.
Because I thought, like, they mentioned, like, it's the Yellow Brick Road, obviously, in Wizard of Oz, and here it's the Witch's Road. So I was like, oh, that's what they're doing here. They're doing the Wizard of Oz thing, and that was cool. And they also had music, too. They had, obviously, music, a big part of Wizard of Oz, and music is seemingly going to be a big part of Agatha All Along, too. I like that.
Well, you have to continue where you left off with the banger that was Agatha All Along. They've brought that team back for the series, and we now have our new version, which is the Ballad of the Witch's Road, which I believe is also going to have multiple versions. The way that I imagine this going is that it was the easiest sell ever to Patti LuPone to be a part of this, because they're like, hey, we want to make this series about witches. You get to be kooky and weird like the whole time, no expectations, and also you're probably going to steal 90% of the scenes that you're in, and also we want to have musical numbers. And I just imagine, like, in the table read, Patti LuPone's like sitting in the back and they say musical numbers, and all the lights go out and a spotlight goes on her and she's like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like, where do I sign? And some
right.
they're just like, yeah, Miss Lapone, please go crazy. You know what I mean? Like, just do your thing. She's incredible.
Yeah, obviously you're more familiar with her than I am. Obviously, she's a big Broadway legend, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Like that, it's an understatement. She's like a living legend on the stage and on the screen. I think I'm interested to see her dynamic more with Kathryn Hahn and more with probably Aubrey Plaza. We're not really sure where her character is going to fit in this whole thing. We were briefly introduced to Aubrey Plaza's character, who is also a witch, but sort of antithesis to Agatha at this point in time. We don't really know where those two met or how their fates will interact to this point in time, but it seems like they're kind of enemies, but maybe also kind of friends, or they want the same thing, or we'll see. I'm interested to see the interaction between all of them. And Mrs. Hart, Deborah Jo Rupp, is so funny. I'm obsessed.
she was great. She just like she gets dragged along to this thing, and they go and they start doing the Witch's Road song, and she's just like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'll just act like I know what I'm doing. Terrific.
It's like, am I supposed to know this song? Just bouncing along, holding hands with people, just there for the vibes. I really love it. This is a question I put into the doc relatively late in here, and I don't know if you've had a chance to think about it yet, but on the topic, if you could pick some people, maybe some fictional witches to have in your coven, who would you pick?
Fictional witches. Oh,
sure. Real. You could go to real people. I was leaning fictional witches, but you can go real people.
See, you're gonna. I'm gonna rely on you for most of the. Well, actually, I do have two. I have two witches that I can think of off the top of my head. Actually, well, no, there's a few. Mostly in Harry Potter. Also, one from Vampire Diaries, but that we'll count it. We'll count it.
Okay, we'll count it. Yeah,
we'll count it. Hermione Granger, obviously.
I think that's a good choice.
Duh. And then we'll go, let's see. Luna Lovegood. Gotta have Luna as part of the coven.
Okay.
Got to. She would bring like the life to the party. Like, I feel like. So I'll go with Luna. And then I know you've never seen Vampire Diaries, but she's like one of the first names that pop into mind, which is Bonnie from Vampire Diaries, who is a witch on the show as well.
I love that you have, though, which is, it's so funny to me that it like doesn't make sense that stereotypically I would be the one that has not seen Vampire Diaries, but you have.
Okay, here's the thing.
We're breaking barriers on this show.
Yeah. I don't know. We haven't talked about this, I don't believe, but like, it's so true that I have had. This comes with having so many female friends, I think, but which is watching so many like 2000s teen dramas and in the similar shows. So I've seen about every big time like teen drama from the 2000s and up till now. So I love Vampire Diaries. I love One Tree Hill. Veronica Mars, I watched that a few years ago and that was great, and I enjoyed watching that. Pretty Little Liars, I like binged the crap out of that. Like last year, I watched like four or five seasons in the span of like 3 months. So if you have any questions about the teen drama sphere, I'm your guy.
Ask our resident millennial on the podcast.
And the OC as well. OC is also great.
Yeah. We're covered.
How many of those shows have you seen? Have you seen any of those shows?
I've seen some of Veronica Mars, but the others, no, not for me. Because like my era of teen dramas was like the farthest back was probably like Zoe 101 or that wasn't even like a teen drama in that way, but it was like I grew up with like Zoe 101, Victorious, iCarly, like that vein of like Nickelodeon shows.
Yes.
It was less TV drama and more like TV, maybe like a sitcom. I don't know if you would consider it a sitcom.
I would consider all those like kids shows in a way, I guess.
Sure.
Like they're not in the same ballpark.
No, like not at all the same subject matter. Yeah. not at all.
So I hope that answered your question. That put me on the spot, but I feel like I fared pretty well with that. I think
that was a great answer for someone that didn't have any time to prepare whatsoever. It was really well done. Because I put together a list, but I had to think about it, and I was like, I don't know. It's a hard question.
You were like, oh, I'm gonna get Richie with this. I'm gonna stump his ass, and he's not gonna have any idea where to go with this, and he's gonna be like, I have no idea, blah 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 blah, and then you were gonna make fun of me for it. But no, I was
not gonna make fun of you for it, but I was expecting you to pick more real people and be like, maybe, I don't know, like Selena Gomez from Wizards of Waverly Place, you know, but like picking people instead of picking fictional characters. But you had some good ammunition there. that was well done.
Your turn.
Yeah, for the record, for mine, I picked Kristen Chenoweth as Glinda from the original Broadway cast of Wicked. I don't know if that counts, but anyway. Jessica Lange from American Horror Story Coven, the Supreme. I picked Binks from Hocus Pocus because I feel like you need an animal in your group. It could also be Salem from Sabrina.
Yes, that's a great one.
And then I picked Stevie Nicks because she's probably not really a witch, but everybody loves her anyway. So
we'll count it. I think we'll count it.
I think we have to allow that. She was also on a season of American Horror Story, but
yeah. And I would like to point out, and I have never seen any of those things you just mentioned.
Really?
Yeah, maybe have I seen I've seen Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I watched that when I was younger.
I felt like you would have seen Hocus Pocus.
I've probably seen Hocus Pocus, but it was never big for our family. I think it was that we weren't a Hocus Pocus family.
Mm-hmm. I guess joint for both of us, we could pick whatever they did to Katie's character in like season 5 and 6 of Supergirl. Yes, that counts.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. That's a collective choice. Let's move on to another big cage match versus this week. You put this on the doc, and I'm really not as well versed in this as you are, but you have the Swifties versus Zach Bryan, which sounds like a court case.
It is. So this is so Corey sent this to me this week because I did not know it was happening. But Zach Bryan, massive country guy, big in the country sphere, big in the everybody seems to like him. He's done like collabs with like just about every, like so many massive artists and from across different genres, right? Noah Kahan, etc. I think what's his dude, Post Malone, did some Post Malone stuff.
Mm-hmm. But he's got one with Casey Musgraves.
Yes. Never heard a single one of his songs. Not my vibe. Anyway, this all started because Zach Bryan tweeted out something with the following statement. This is it. We're like completely out of context. He tweeted, "Eagles greater than Chiefs." Bryan wrote in his original X post, according to screenshots shared by Variety and Rolling Stone. And then he also said, "Kanye greater than Taylor. Who's with me?" And that created a massive social media firestorm. So much so that he deleted his Twitter. So I don't know if it still exists as of we're recording or not, but he got rid of his Twitter account. And then he later followed that up with like a massive, like 3-paragraph apology on his Instagram page, trying to explain himself. That I was like, "Oh, sorry, I was drunkenly tweeting or whatever." And I was like, "Oh man, come on." Like, I don't even know why this was that this popped into his mind. But that is the concise version of the Zach Bryan Swifties feud from this week.
He would have been mostly safe if he would have just left it at Eagles better than Chiefs, because I feel like you could make that argument in some spheres. Yeah, that's a tough one. I like some of his music, and I generally think that he's pretty cautious with the things that he says on social media. This was a rough one, though. You knew you were going to get some backlash from it, right? I mean, in today's day and age, if you tweet something negative about Taylor Swift, you have to be prepared to get backlash on it.
Yes.
Regardless of what it is, that's crazy. And bringing Kanye into this whole thing with how hotly debated a public figure he is as well. I mean, pick a neutral third party, right? You say, like, I don't know. You even say, like, Lana Del Rey is better than Taylor, you get less backlash.
So true.
It's specifically that person that you picked. He was like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And I feel bad that he probably got jumped on like crazy to the point where he had to delete his Twitter and then do a lot of PR apology over on his Instagram.
Right.
But that's not something you could be doing, especially in a sphere where artists are using social media, I think, more than ever to engage with one another and like set up collaborations and propel each other's work, hopefully in a positive way. But, you know, that's a tough look.
Yeah, it was dumb. When Corey sent it to me this week, I was like, what an idiot, man. Like, what are we trying to do here? But anyway, that was your Zach Bryan, Taylor Swifties feud. Back to you.
Thanks, Richie. Now for the weather.
Oh, it's time for the weather. Oh, here we go.
Hang on.
Yes, here we go. We're gonna go back over to our over here. If you follow me over this way and take a look out my gigantic window, you can again see that there is nothing happening outside at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful day in Arizona. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a balmy 115 degrees on the surface of the sun. No cloud cover to speak of, and 0% chance of rain for the next 1400 years.
Hey, it was under 100 degrees this week for the first time, like in over 100 days. So thank God. But you did call it though, because when I sent you originally that it was going to be under 100, you were like, "Oh, this is just the calm before the storm," because you guys are going to get one last like heat wave. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I believe sometime next week we're back into the hundreds for a week straight, and then hopefully that's the end of it for the rest of the fall and into the winter.
Mm-hmm. I've seen, the reason that I know this is because there's a post that lives in my brain that's on, I think it's like the account is Midwest versus Everybody or something on Twitter, and they have like a chart of, there's actually like 13 seasons or something, and it's like there's essentially like a false season of everything. So it's like winter and then false spring and then actual spring, and then one of the seasons is called The Pollinating and one is called Hell's Front Porch, and then it's like false fall, actual fall. But they'll post every, I don't know, couple of months or couple of weeks or something, and they'll put like a red arrow that says "You are here" next to each category of the season. So I think we just made it out of the pollinating into maybe false fall, or we might actually be in real fall now. But yeah, that's deceptive. And I like to tell people that Arizona really only has like 3 seasons. It's like hot, less hot, and construction. But that's year round.
That's so true. Yes.
I don't know. That feels right. Speaking of hot, let's talk about the warmest race of the Formula One calendar season, I think. Unless I guess you could make some arguments.
No, there's one more. It was last year the drivers were having a tough time in
was it in Qatar?
Qatar. I think you're right. I think it was Qatar.
Yeah.
Where like there were a lot of guys who were like really suffering after the race. I don't know if and that's still coming up Did they do that race already? I don't remember.
No, that
Such a
one's still
long
coming
damn
up.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be rough then,
This
right?
one always, though, very intimidating for the drivers is Singapore. So that happened this morning as of a couple hours ago. You want to give the people a recap?
Sure.
As much as you saw, I suppose.
I did. I had to leave about lap 20 to make it to my place of employment on time so I can watch the rest of the race. And it turns out I really didn't need to watch the rest of the race. I mean, I could have slept in another 45 minutes because it was not much of a race. It was more of it was very, very much Monaco, but like hotter and a much longer race. That's basically what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Lando actually, he got the pole, led the first lap, and he went on to win the race by more than 20 seconds. Charles Leclerc had a nice run. He finished fourth, just off the podium, I believe. So he had a nice run.
Mm-hmm.
We got some Hossie and Bio from Nico Hulkenberg, so he got some points for Haas. Kevin Madison came back this week and did not terrorize everybody, which was kind of a miracle, to be honest.
He did terrorize Lando briefly. He did
Yes.
briefly set the fastest lap, and then it was immediately deleted for track limits. But he did his best.
Not good. So very bad day for Alex Albon. He retired from the race in the first few laps of the race. But the big story is that we very well could have seen the very final race in Formula One for Daniel Ricciardo. Oh wait, I pressed the wrong damn button. Here it is.
Hey. Kiki, hey.
Thank you, Danny Rick, for servicing your former teammate Max Verstappen by getting the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, taking that point away from Lando Norris, which was huge in the drivers' championship race with 6 races to go. And it was very adorable right after the checkered flag, and GP got on the radio and said that Daniel had gotten the fastest lap of the race, and Max was like, "Oh, thank you." It was adorable.
That caught me a little off guard. I will not say that I was crying. It was a little misty in my household at that moment. It was unexpected. I think Daniel deserves to be able to finish out this season. From my point of view anyway. But if this was it seems like it was a proper send-off for him. They let him go out, try and get the fastest lap. The fans voted him driver of the day. That was big. That was going down in the Red Bull Racing Discord as the race was happening. We were all like, should we vote Daniel driver of the day? And enough people pulled through to overcome the Lando Norris fans to vote Daniel driver of the day, which was mostly well earned. Like, okay, he finished, I don't know, 18th or 19th on the grid, but he was running in 11th or 12th the whole time after starting about 18th. So, drove a good race, had an interesting little strategy there from VCarb, but we'll see. So, Drive to Survive did a good job of highlighting, I think, the kind of person that Ricciardo is, and people speak very highly of him in and outside of Formula One. So, whatever's next, we hope good things for him. Drive to Survive also should just be called A Series of Unfortunate Business Decisions by Daniel Ricciardo. Moving teams and the like, but it was fun while it lasted, if this is it.
Yeah, it's in his interviews, it sounded like he knew that was probably his last race. So this is probably on the verge of happening. Liam Lawson going to get back into that seat like he was last season. So yeah, I'm going to be bummed to see Daniel go. However, he has mentioned in the past that he would like to try other things, mostly NASCAR. Like he said, he wants to race NASCAR, which would be cool. So if there's a team out there willing to put Daniel in a seat in NASCAR, I'd like to see it. That would be super cool.
That would be cool. I think we're seeing a lot more maturity from the mid to younger age drivers in Formula One now, where it's like, hey, we realize we can't do this forever. And I'm thinking about my plans after and what that could be and what that could look like. And whether it's in a different kind of motorsport or otherwise, that's decisions to be made.
Valtteri also vying to keep that seat at Sauber for next year. Hasn't been confirmed yet. He has been publicly saying that if he doesn't end up back in Formula One next year, that IndyCar would be his next best option, and that would be cool. I would love to see have Valtteri on the IndyCar grid. That'd be super fun. Along with the other other former Formula One drivers on the IndyCar grid who have had some success. Alexander Rossi may be the most successful because actually Alex Rossi and Marcus Ericsson, both the Indianapolis 500 winners, former Formula One drivers turned Indianapolis 500 winners. So that'd be cool to have Valtteri run the Indianapolis 500.
I think Valtteri's personality would be hysterical. People would love him in IndyCar.
Yes.
Just I don't know. You can't go wrong with that. Or we've also seen a lot of the drivers say that they might try endurance racing, like Le Mans or Formula E or whatever it may be. But
that's what Fernando did for a while after he stepped away from Formula One. He ended up ran the Indianapolis 500 a couple times, and he did some endurance racing, run the 24 Hours Daytona, among other things. So,
and now he's never leaving. So
exactly. One other thing. Do you have a rant about how annoying the FIA was this week?
Oh, I have a lot of them. You want to hear it?
Yes, please.
I have a lot of rants. I have a rant about how annoying the FIA is, but I'd like to start with a rant. I guess no, let's start with the FIA. We'll come back to my other rant about the British media. FIA this week decided to put Max in the timeout corner for saying a swear word during an interview, which, okay, I get it. You're in a press conference, you're in an interview. It's a different scenario than you would be if you were giving an informal interview to a reporter or if it's team radio in the car. However, they have also said that they're trying to get the drivers to stop swearing on team radio. This doesn't make sense to me for a number of reasons, not least of which is that you strapped a microphone to a professional driver who is trying to take a car at its limit regularly over 100 or 200 kilometers an hour on a very taxing and difficult circuit, surrounded by 19 other drivers who are actively all trying to pass each other, and you're expecting them not to use some foul language every now and then. That doesn't make sense. I don't get it. And in no other sport do we get the same kind of mic access to these guys on a regular basis. A lot of what they say goes to TV and it ends up on the TV as team radio, and we prioritize what they have to say over the comment. Like the commentary will shut down and be quiet if there's team radio coming through. That's how much we value hearing what these guys have to say. So you have one of two options, is that I guess you tell the drivers to cut back on the swearing, or two, you stop broadcasting the team radio. Both of which I think hurt the sport in different ways, because we also have a thing that's called F1 Kids. Don't know if you've heard of it. If you don't want to hear the swearing, go to F1 Kids. Like, it is what it is, man. And you're telling these guys who all grew up wanting the highest level of competition in racing driving and wanting the aggression and the edge, and now you're telling them that they can't say the F word. Like, all right, I don't understand it. So now Max has to do community service, whatever that might look like. I think they should send him to a cat cafe. That would be good for everybody. What do you think?
Max would love that.
I know
That would be like that's his like heaven on earth is a cat cafe.
That's why I think it would be good for everybody. What are your thoughts though?
This is like Formula One stabbing themselves in their own foot for no particular reason, right? They're the biggest motorsport in the world. They are arguably the second biggest motorsport in the United States right now. I think I'd say that in terms of TV ratings. And instead of like trying to continuously grow your fan base, you create your own headlines that make you seem like you're living in 1984 instead of 2024. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, no other motorsport has to deal with this. There are team radios in every other motorsport. And I was watching the NASCAR races this weekend, and they were all cussing up a storm, right? I'm trying to remember who it was. And when I was watching the Xfinity race at Bristol, and they heard him saying one of the drivers saying a naughty word, and they just moved on and it wasn't a big deal. And so it's like it's just not a big deal like anywhere else. It happens. It's part of the passion of the sport, and it's great, and it's why we love sports in general, is the passion of these athletes and hearing that passion, seeing that passion. I do however have a quick story regarding this in a way. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the biggest name in NASCAR, back in 2004, he was in line for a championship. This was the best season of his career. And he won a race at Talladega. And the interviewer asked him, like, what does it mean to have this many wins on restrictor plate tracks compared to your dad? And he was like, oh, that don't mean shit right now. He just, dropped it out there in victory lane. And here's the crazy thing. And this is why I bring this up. This was on live television. This was the biggest name in the sport at the time. And they fined him for it. And they docked him 25 points. And it very well cost him championship contention at that point in time, which is pretty wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, in which they don't do that anymore. I don't think. Like the drivers, if they do that, they don't even fine guys. I think you just fine them, but no points available.
I don't even understand fining them for that. That's
Mm-hmm.
All right. I understand if you know that you're on national television and you're being interviewed for national television. Different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
If you are actively in the car, or it's not made available to you that this is live and being aired and it could just be another interview, I don't understand that. Because guys have PR and social media managers and all kinds of other stuff to make sure that they don't say silly things directly to the public in this day and age. But I don't even get fining guys for this. It's an incredible waste of time and resources to go and track down people who said a swear word rather than focusing on the things that actually matter about keeping motorsport and all other sports fair and equitable for all participants.
Max did handle it pretty well, I thought. Like, he did his little protest in the actual
he did
press conference, media availability, and kept all of his answers short. And he apologized to the reporter. He's like, hey, this is nothing against you. And I thought this was great of him as somebody who has worked in sports media for a long time. Like, that's it. Your media obligations are done. You don't have to talk to anybody else. You did your media availability. You don't have to do anything else. But he went essentially out of his way to go and do an extra media session outside of the main media center with a bunch of reporters. And so much so that he was like Formula One Jesus, as I joked with you, and they all followed him They all followed him to where they like the media pin or whatever to go do these interviews, and he went and he gave the media more access as like a little protest against the FIA, which was really cool of him to do.
Sure. And the funniest thing is that I guess I can't confirm this, but I think I saw a tweet that said he initially was doing the extra availability in like the hallway outside of the main FIA press conference room, and they were like, no, absolutely, you can't do this here. It's like, you won't give us an answer in the publicity room, but now you're trying to stage this in our hallway, get out. And he's like, okay, we'll do it on the fly. And everybody just followed him outside. It was the funniest thing. He also very much likes the Dutch publications. He was given nice, long, descriptive answers to like De Telegraaf or whatever it was, the Dutch publication. But that's so funny. Here's my other rant that I was going to go on, and I don't know if you agree with me, about British media, because you know this. I will more often than not watch the F1 pre-show, the race pre-show on the Spanish language network.
Right.
Because they talk, there's way more parody, and they talk way more about all of the drivers on the grid, and they do a lot more coverage of everybody individually, whereas like Sky Sports tends to focus a lot on McLaren, especially lately. And I don't really care about what's going on over at that stupid orange team. So I try and stay away from the Sky Sports coverage of it. And during the race, man, it's gotten to the point where they sound disappointed when other teams do something well. I don't know if that's just like my team allegiance that I'm picking up on it, but I feel like it's become more obvious that they have favorites and people that they want to succeed, and the bias is a little extensive. It's creeping into the broadcast.
I don't notice it as much as you do for the most part. It doesn't, because I think Sky Sports, I think they put on some of the best sports television you can do nowadays. And I love Crofty, and Martin Brundle's great. More Nico. Give us more Nico Rosberg, though.
Give us more Nico.
He's my favorite commentator. I love any time. They've only had him in the booth like one time this year during a race. I'm like, man, we need more Nico up in the booth instead of Brundle.
I agree.
But the one comment that like I texted you about today that annoyed me was after the race, Brundle called Lando's drive a world championship drive.
Yeah.
And both of us were like, bro, what did he do? Like, he has a rocket ship for a car. He didn't do anything different. Like,
right.
Like you're still in second. You're still in second place.
He drove the whole race out in front in clean air the entire way, and still managed to clip the wall on like 3 or 4 separate occasions with a 25-second lead. You're like, but what are you doing? He was inches away from DNFing that car multiple times in that race. You have guys back there that are fighting for their life, that are driving the best race of their lives back there, just unannounced,
right?
Not being celebrated, not being acknowledged for their effort back there. But this guy gets all the coverage, right? Because he's out in front. The thing that annoyed me is that they keep pushing this narrative about there being a world championship battle. And I get it, because like you need something to, stoke the media attention and get people watching and keep them watching. And theoretically, yes, there still is contention and there's points up for grabs. There was a statistic that came out today. After Lando's first win at Miami, his first ever Formula One win, that was 13 races ago. There was the exact same points differential gap then as there are now. 13 races later, he has not made any ground up on Max Verstappen, who has been driving a vastly inferior RB20 to whatever's happening over at McLaren. And we're very much pushing this narrative that now the pressure is on Verstappen. That I don't agree with. And I think that realistically the game is between maybe 4 different drivers. Lando's involved, Max is involved, Piastri could be involved, Leclerc is certainly involved up at the front, and he's not gaining any of the attention and any of the traction. He's been driving his butt off the last couple of races. It's, I don't know. Trying to boil this down and distill it to 2 people specifically is crazy to me.
Yeah, you gotta get people to tune in. So you gotta create drama, which is what F1 I think does that better than any other sport. Is they are very good at creating drama for themselves, and during this home stretch. I didn't look it up, but I'm curious what the gap was at this time in 2021. I think it was probably a lot closer. It was a lot closer.
Let's see.
Yeah, why you look it up? Why you look it up?
Yeah.
That is a crazy stat though about how he hasn't closed the gap at all.
He needs 9 points per race from here on out to make a difference, and he only got 7 today, and it's just he's not taking big enough chunks out.
Yeah, it's basic. Max has to have big time an issue at some point in time
and that's also assuming that Norris wins all of the remaining races.
That's
when
hard.
You have guys like Hamilton and Piastri and Leclerc and even Russell that are in contention for those podium places.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the rear wing issue that's going to get banned or needed to be tweaked at a few more of the tracks coming up.
Exactly. I still say I don't know why they haven't overturned the win from at Baku because for Oscar, because that's the only reason he won that race. I think it's pretty damn clear. That's the only reason he was able to keep that gap just enough ahead of Leclerc. But
yes,
anyway.
Leclerc was within 4 or 5 tenths for lap after lap after lap and could literally never close it because of how fast that car was from Piastri.
But so they outlawed afterwards, and they're like, cool, now you can, no penalties.
Nope, no penalties. Nobody, and you could say the same thing about that car at Monza.
Yeah,
I mean, there's other tracks that you should go back and disqualify cars from. So they actually didn't. It looks like they didn't race Singapore in 2021.
So like the equivalent race, which would be like.
So what are we on?
We're like three quarters of the way through the season because there's 24 races this year. So at the 3/4 mark.
Looks like it was Turkey. Turkey in 2021. So Hamilton actually finished that race 11th, which is crazy. Race classification. Okay, here you go. Championship standings after the race. So after this one, Verstappen was at 262.5. Hamilton was at 256.5.
Oh,
so less than 10 points separating those two.
Much closer. Much closer.
Yeah, much closer.
That was an actual fight. This is it's still a fight compared to most it's more of a fight than most of the Formula One seasons have been in the last decade, because Lewis for the most part locked up a lot of his championships with 3 or 4 races left in the season, and this seemingly is going to come down to probably the last race of the season before somebody locks it up or wins it.
It could be the last 2 if something strange were to happen with the remaining calendar, but I think if it keeps trending the way that it is, just there's not enough chunk being taken out of the leader to really make such a difference.
Right.
Constructors is still up for grabs though.
Yes. We have 3 sprint races remaining as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I think you're right, because we have one at Austin, we have one at Brazil ?
Brazil.
And is there one at
Qatar?
Abu Dhabi? Qatar is one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, it's not Las Vegas. Can you imagine having a sprint race at Las Vegas? That would be
That'd
insane.
be cool. That'd be fun.
The track is crazy. I think they are going forward with the all rookies sprint race at the end of the season, though, from what I heard.
I actually haven't looked into that. I saw the headline, but I haven't looked into what that all entails.
Let me see. F1 sprint race, rookie sprint race plan set for green light. Let's see. This is from This is Formula One on Twitter. Formula One plans to hold a rookie sprint race after the season finale in Abu Dhabi. The idea of turning the regular postseason testing into a rookie spectacle was first discussed by team bosses back in July. This came as part of a conversation within the F1 Commission about how to give young drivers more mileage in F1 with limited testing opportunities. After recent meeting of the Sporting Advisory Committee.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
If they do it like where they have the full 20 car field and they allow all like the reserve drivers and the younger guys a chance in those cars, that'd be fun.
Several senior sources have confirmed plans are moving in the right direction, with a formal vote set to take place at the next F1 Commission meeting on October 2nd, where it is expected to be approved. The current plan outlines a rookie sprint race on the Tuesday after Abu Dhabi alongside the regular Pirelli test. It will feature a short qualifying session followed by a sprint race involving 10 rookies. The event will be broadcast, though the details regarding the format and channels are still being worked out.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Maybe do we get to see Ollie back in the car again?
Maybe we might get to see Ollie. We might get to see. Maybe we get one more bid from Franco before they send him wherever he's going next. Perhaps
give that boy a seat. Sauber,
I agree.
Sauber,
I agree with that.
Call him up. Williams, send Carlos Sainz to the away and give
Sauber
Franco that seat.
To the shadow realm. Yeah. God. That's crazy. I will say Williams has looked really good over the last couple of races. I don't know if that has to do a lot with Colapinto taking over Sargent's seat, but the upgrades
he got
look
some
like
praise from
working.
Checo. Yeah. Checo called him out and said this kid's doing a great job of defending.
He was. I would agree with that. Yeah, the first lap was interesting here, but other than that, it was mostly just kind of a procession with some drama happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, it was not a great weekend for the motorsports fan, except for Dale Jr. getting back on the car, which is pretty cool. But other than that, yeah, not much going on.
Crazy. All right. What else have you got? That's all. That's all we got on the document, but we can always spit off
we got 5 minutes to BS here. We got 5 minutes to BS. So excited for JB trip. I'm leaving at 7:00 in the morning, or my flight's at 7:00 in the morning, so I have to wake up super early again for the third straight day. Not looking forward to that, as previously discussed on the show. However, I do have a layover in LA, so maybe I can like get a nice little nap in, like find a spot and get a nap in before my second flight of the day. And then we'll bring the Red Bull with you, because we're pulling an all-nighter, so we can watch La La Land with some popcorn. It'd be great.
Yeah, I have to pack that. I did find popcorn though. I found popcorn from the last time that you visited, and I bought popcorn. I still had some left.
Did you break that open? Did we eat it? We didn't eat any of that when I was there. Did we?
Yeah, we did. It was when we were watching Moulin Rouge. Well, maybe you didn't, but I certainly did.
Okay, hold on a second.
I think you were struggling. I think you were busy struggling with the under eye mask.
We have to unpack that, because I don't remember eating any popcorn.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. Did I?
I don't remember if you did or not. I think so, though. I think I split it between two bowls. Because what kind of a host would I be if I just poured it all into one bowl for myself and said, "Get your own"? As much as that does sound like
just
me,
kept it in the packaging. Just keep it in the packaging.
No, because if you keep it in the packaging, then when you put your hand inside there, it gets like
greasy,
all the butter that's on the outside of the bag. Yeah, you have to put it in a bowl. As much as I hate to use like a separate item, it doesn't make sense, because then you have to clean the bowl.
That's so true.
It would be so much nicer if you could just put your hand in the bag, but then you get the butter on your hand.
Yeah.
So it's
very true.
a tale of two inconveniences, I guess.
Get your popcorn ready.
I have to pack that DVD if you really want to watch that.
Bring it with you. Let's do it.
Physical media.
Shout out.
Shout out physical media. Shout out Half Price Books because I got that for $1.
What?
Which is insane. $1.
That's a steal.
Nobody wants DVDs anymore. You rock up to your local Half Price Books and you pick up like 5 movies for like $7.
Ooh, that's legit.
No, it's incredible. I have a collection going now.
Here's the thing. I'm a perfectionist and I refuse to buy DVDs, so I always get Blu-rays.
That's fair. I would buy a Blu-ray of a movie that I feel like is necessary to watch in higher definition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna bother with and
like,
a lot of the movies.
Watch Oppenheimer on a DVD.
I knew it. I knew that was coming, and now I have to change the board again. Dang it, dude.
Let's go. What was the number at? What was it at?
It was at 3.
Damn, that was a new record. That's a new record.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
Yes. I mean, you were the one that brought it up. So
I brought it up, and then I immediately knew that that was where it was going. It's like I shouldn't have even said.
You sauced me the puck, and I was ready to smoke that one home, top shelf where Mama hides the cookies.
I needed to just keep my mouth shut.
But anyway, yes, very excited for JB trip. It's gonna rain, which sucks, but I have rain attire. I have my rain coat, and I'll bring that with me if I remember.
Maybe it'll keep the line smaller, right? If it rains all day, people aren't going to accept.
I told you, rain or shine, we are still getting barricade.
No, I agree with that decision. And I've started looking around the general area. There's some like coffee shops and things. Like if we get desperate and you need a minute out of the rain, then
right.
That'll be solid. Or you need a bathroom break too, which is probably more important.
Very possible. And
just in general, I think that's going to be necessary depending on how long we're outside. So we got to take that into account.
I know the venue actually has some restaurants as well, but I don't know if they're open like all day or when they open or not. I have no idea. We'll figure it out. We'll be on the ground. We have content. We'll have content incoming.
That's true. We're probably going to be posting a lot this weekend. We're gonna have a lot of content for you guys, so make sure you follow along with us. How is that, by the way? Are you a fan? Richie got the new iPhone 16. Are you a fan?
Yeah,
so far?
16 Pro. So far so good. I love it. So much faster. Battery life is beautiful. New camera thing is weird, but I'll get used to it. iOS 18. Great so far. Corey had to walk me through some of the new iOS 18 features because I felt like an old man and did not know how to change some of the stuff. But yeah, so far so good. I like it. iOS 18, you can schedule a text now. So I can annoy the crap out of you and schedule a text to go out at like 6:00 your time every day with just a random meme.
Oh God. So I'll confess that I did schedule a text to you earlier this week because I was gonna send you something, but it was still way too early your time. I was like, let me just push this like 2 hours later, and then it'll be fine.
I'm curious. I need to figure out what this is though now.
No, I don't remember what it was. I actually think it was the picture of that car that I was driving next to that had some really interesting bumper stickers.
Oh yeah,
rear window stickers.
Sense. Yeah,
I think it was that one.
All right, hurry up and wrap the show. Should we keep our under an hour streak going?
Okay, well we're not there, so it's too late.
No, because I'll edit. We have like wrap up. Do it. Wrap up the show.
Stop talking. I don't want to talk over you. All right. For Richie and his weather report, I have been Jordan. Thanks for tuning in as usual. Follow us on social media for all of your JB Trip content and everything else in between. We are OHOBC Pod on everything because we're lazy. Thanks.